Hello and welcome to My Voice podcast. I'm Alex Wilkinson, a sport and exercise psychology student from Loughborough University. I'm currently on an internship with Sport and Communities, who are a community development organisation that supports all members of the community, from young to old, across a broad spectrum of needs. This podcast is part of the My Voice project, a national community lottery funded programme that helps to give young people a voice in their community and a platform for creating change and social action. Thank you for taking the time to join me, and welcome to My Voice podcast. We've got a really interesting podcast lined up today, asking whether the coronavirus has infected our culture and media online, and how big of an effect has social media had on the coronavirus. Before we start, I'd just like to welcome our three guests today, Talia, John and Ben. Firstly, would you be able to tell the listeners at home a bit about yourself?
Yes, my name is Talia. I've been going to the sport and community sessions for about 5 years now, and I'm currently doing a case study with them. And I first found out about them when they started doing sessions.
That's great.
I'm Jonathan, volunteer with Sport and Communities, volunteered for the last few months and been attending the sessions for the last few years.
And I'm Ben Rigby, the Managing Director at Sporting Communities.
Thank you all very much for joining me. Social media can be said that it is really influential, and during the coronavirus especially. We've had such positive stories shared of great acts of kindness, and sadly, we've seen some sad news as well. Everybody nowadays is on social media, and more than ever, we're consumed by the online world. We're constantly reading, liking, and sharing posts from morning to night. What is it about social media that makes it so prevalent, and what is the best thing about social media at the moment, would you say, John?
The best thing about social media is it's having more positive reviews and negative currently, with the amount of people talking, even if it's across countries to just your mates across the road. But I've noticed a lot of the time you could be talking to someone and then you don't talk for a few days. Like, you'll talk for a few days and then stop because you don't see them in person, so it isn't the same anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. Talia, would you say it's about staying in touch with your friends, or is it more about reading information on the coronavirus? What's making social media so big at the moment?
I would say mainly keeping in contact with your friends, because social media isn't always a positive thing for that. Because say if you're reading about the coronavirus, you could get like so many fake news and tabloids about the whole thing, and then you get fake information. You always just assume things that aren't always true, and that rumor can start going around, which can either scare people or it can make someone believe something they want to.
Yeah, definitely. And there's so much negative news going around at the moment, and so many rumors, like you say, so that can put a big sort of doubt in people's minds. And in terms of news, I think everybody's watching more news. I don't know about yourself, Ben. Have you been watching more news than before the start of the coronavirus pandemic?
Funnily enough, I haven't, but only because I think there's enough negativity in the world, and sometimes it just makes me sad when the news is just all bad news. I've got into a really bad habit actually at the minute of talking about and then looking at coronavirus information just before bedtime, which is not the best time to start looking at it, really. No. So yeah, I've been trying to stay a little bit clearer of the news at the minute, and I think it's really interesting with your point to it just with Talia about staying connected. That I think that's something that's really come out quite a lot from having this lockdown. And I don't know about Talia and John, but it feels like I've been connecting more with the people that I would normally just link up with, so friends or family who I'd normally link up with every few months or something. It seems to be a weekly occurrence at the minute. I don't know how it's been affecting yourselves.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think people have got in contact with family members that they wouldn't normally speak to, or definitely not as often. I think people are talking more and meeting up on Zoom a lot more often.
Yeah, but I think that because of this, I feel like we aren't taking each other for granted more than we would have before, and we're actually getting more closer than we used to be. now that we can't like see each other and stuff, because like before all of this we were all taking like going out for granted and stuff like that, going anywhere we wanted, and now we've realized it's brought us like closer together as like a community to like talk more to each other, to like keep each other like connected, and like their mental health and stuff, like, you know.
Yeah, no, it's so true, because have people been doing more in your community, Talia? Have they been helping each other on sort of a volunteering side as well?
I have no clue honestly, but I know there are a few like volunteers around here who do go out and help other people, like the vulnerable and stuff like that, and keeping like other people like connected and all that. But I'd say this has definitely had a positive impact on the community, because they're going out to help each other more than they would have like before.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think social media is a platform where people can sort of advertise to set up new groups or community groups and trying to do more for other people. I mean, the idea of clapping for the NHS, that started on social media, and it sort of evolved into something where everybody came out onto the street and is doing it sort of as
my
as
street
as
is
a religious
always
thing.
doing it.
Yeah, everybody's
My
really got on
street is
board with
lit
that.
up at night.
Have you been completing any other trends or any other challenges that were set on social media, like the NHS clap?
Yeah.
What have you been doing then, John?
So there's one going around right now for people who have Snapchat. So you get nominated to post before and after photos. So that is when you was a kid. So anywhere between about a year old to 4 or 5 years old. And then you won like on the day. So when you get nominated, you have to take a photo and post it as well. And then people can see how you've changed and how you developed as a person. And it's not more of it's like a challenge, but it's not a challenge. It's how you can connect, and saying you're making more bonds with people over seeing you before and after, if you get that.
Yeah, it's light-hearted fun as well. I don't know, has anybody in this call done the 5K challenge that was going around? A lot of people.
I've not been nominated yet.
£5?
Yeah, run 5 kilometers, donate £5 and tag 5 people.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
I've not been nominated
I found myself running 5K for the first time in my life and struggling all the way as I did it.
I've done 3K, that was hard.
I remember the first time I was working on a project where we were organising a 10-kilometre run, and I went to the gym and I thought, oh, this isn't going to be too bad. I'll have a practice of it. And I think after 1.5 kilometres, I was thinking, I was never made for long distance running. The only one that's going out there and doing 5K.
It's always harder than you remember, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
How often would you say you're checking the news and sort of updates on the coronavirus, Talia, as a younger person? Have you found that you're ignoring news, or are you actually looking to find new information on it?
I would say that I've been watching the news more than I used to, definitely. But then I wouldn't say I use social media for news, because obviously, like, you don't know what's real and what's not. But I most definitely have been looking at more about the coronavirus and lockdown.
Yeah, because I'd agree on that. I think social media can be quite corrupt at times in terms of what people want to share. I mean, do you ever read something on social media and you wish you hadn't seen it, or you read somebody's post and you find yourself getting annoyed with other people's views or opinions? And that's not to say their views or opinions are wrong, but they might be too different to your own. So in that way, it can cause problems, can't it?
Yeah, and then that can cause another argument online and stuff.
One of the interesting things with social media as well is that the way that a lot of them are designed to be like the scrolling down motion is very much like a slot machine, so it encourages you to keep flicking through.
Yeah, definitely.
And when one of the things that I've found that was really interesting is my views, and I don't know how this is with yourselves, where you said in there, Talia, about you might come across someone who doesn't have the same views as you, something you like. I end up quite often following from them. So what I do is it ends up creating like a silo of my own thoughts that are projected by other people. So I only end up having the people on who share the same views and that as me, and that's that's great for myself. But then in terms of broadening out, when you see other people doing the same, I imagine that if those views are a little more narrow-minded or extreme, that it can heighten that. I don't know what you guys think on that.
But I think that is a good way to like remove like negative like thoughts out, because obviously if you've got someone with like different opinions to you, then that's going to create a whole different like point of view towards like what's like going on and stuff. So like that could not be real, and they could get you to change your views towards that.
Do you think it's better to have a more broader range of people and opinions though on social media? Because I sometimes wonder whether I disconnect myself from by well, I don't agree with that, so I'll unfollow you.
I think you should be broader with people you connect with, and your opinions and values should be more broad and open-minded over it all. Because if you're just locking yourself in one way, it's not really, I'd say, beneficial for yourself, because you're not developing as a person and seeing things in different aspects and from different points of views. But if you're opening and broadening your horizons and your views and your opinions, you're just going to develop as a person, and find new things and be able to comment more and be able to see everything from different values, different ways, different ways in life, should I say.
I think a platform such as Twitter, where people really express their views online, and depending on who you follow, it might show up as they've commented on another post. You find that you could be quite far removed from the original post, but it'll still show up on your timeline. So I think whatever precautionary steps you might want to take, because you don't appreciate what people are saying online, I think it does find its way to filter in. And I think some people recently have been gloating about rebelling against the rules of lockdown, and social media has been almost turned into a sort of hostile environment, because people are getting angry at other people for obviously going out in lockdown when they should be at home. I don't know if you've seen anything similar, John or Talia, about people.
Yeah.
So how does that leave you feeling?
Quite angry, and I don't know how to play it, but like with disbelief with the younger generation, because they're the ones who are rebelling against it and thinking they are above that, and they're always, I want to go out, so I'll go out. I'm doing this. I'm doing this. It's like you've got guidelines for a reason. You've got to follow them for a reason. If not, it's like you've got ads all over, and they're still not following it. They're showing all the possibilities and the outcomes of what the damage and effects can be personally on your families, and with a social aspect and all the workplace. And people still go out and think they don't have to, because I think it was Hyde Park where it was full, apparently.
Yeah, they had like 3,000 people, didn't they?
And it's like, that's just going to cause more conflict, and it only takes one person to pass it on to all of them.
Yeah, that's
and you don't see the symptoms for 10 days.
It's very true. What have you seen, Talia, yourself? What did you say you've seen on social media about people sort of posting about breaking these rules or posting pictures of them out?
I've seen quite a lot of them like shared by friends and stuff, about people saying how the lockdown rules are like pathetic and things like that, and how it's like impossible for them to pass coronavirus like this way. But then I have noticed how more young people have been going out like in this area, like on the pops and stuff like that, and then they don't like follow the rules, so they think that they're like, as you said, on top of the rules, but they're not.
I mean, initially coronavirus wasn't taken too seriously back in sort of early February, I'd say. I mean, social media spread a lot of rumors and false information, and people comparing it to a flu. But this has all changed so drastically, and it's a shame that people still feel the need to sort of go out.
But then we've also had people like visiting our house and stuff. But then we tell them to like leave, but then they're like breaking the rules, and like there's guidelines for a reason, because obviously if you go to a different household and pass that on, then they're going to be spreaders of it.
Yeah, and it's life-changing situations that where you can spread it on. What have you been doing to stay in your touch? Because I know you said that you've been abiding by the guidelines and staying in. What have you been doing to stay in touch with your friends? Is it the same? Are you doing the same things before the lockdown started? Are you using the same platforms, or have you changed it?
I'm definitely not using the same platforms, because I've been using things like House Party and like Zoom for like group calls with my friends. But then also I have been using like some of my regular platforms like Instagram and Facebook. But then we mostly talk about like our views, but then some are different towards each other's. So like some believe that, you know, lockdown rules shouldn't be so harsh, but then some people like agree with it.
Yeah,
have you been able to keep in touch with wider relatives as well? So like we were looking. I managed to get an iPad to my grandparents just before lockdown, and so they've been learning how to FaceTime, just to show them that how you're really embracing the technology now. But I just wondered if have you managed to keep in touch with your wider relatives easily enough?
Yeah.
We've just been using things like regular calls and like FaceTime and all that.
My nan's finally got Facebook, and she's embracing how to use it to connect with us all. She's getting the hang of Facebook FaceTime, the FaceTime on Facebook. So that's fun.
And there's a lot of the older generation are doing that now. Like you say, Ben, you helped your parents, was it, to sort of catch up with the technology and sort of provide them with an iPad? I mean, the older generation they're learning the new skills to use the technology and keep in touch with friends and family, aren't they?
Yeah, it was really interesting actually, because my grandparents are in the 80s, and I've made the device as simple as it could be to try and get it so that they could just receive calls essentially. And after only a couple of days of having it, they were asking how to live stream on Facebook. So it was a bit of an eye-opener. So it's great to hear that other people are also, doing the same, and with John and Talia as well. Your family members are also having that same approach.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of different volunteering groups set up. The Royal Voluntary Service at the start of the coronavirus asked for a lot more volunteers to do check-ins with vulnerable people by simply calling them up and seeing how they are and if they needed anything. Have you seen anything in your own communities or anything online where people have been volunteering or trying to do something to help during the pandemic?
I've seen a lot around Biddle, which is my local area. The town hall, people who work in there, city council and all that, getting involved, helping all the vulnerable elderly, dropping medication, taking food, and even public people around. No, everyday people are getting involved, getting people shopping lists. So like my parents, they go to the next door neighbour, and they have to take it very serious. And a few family friends, my mum does their shopping for them because of the vulnerable or the elderly. So my mum's going out doing their shopping as well. So she's doing multiple shopping trips, dropping it on the doorsteps, and going over 12 feet to give them the extra measure, so they've got the safety and the ease of mind. And then they don't have to go out and risk potentially their lives or their health with going shopping and catching it. So I've seen family do it, but I haven't been able to help because I've had to stay in myself and look after my brothers and sisters while they do that.
No, it's really, really kind act, because I think I've seen so much on social media of people trying to do more for other people. I think social media has had a massive impact on trying to set up volunteering groups or trying to spread positive information about how they can help in their local area. I mean,
Yeah.
do you reckon more people will carry on volunteering after the pandemic? Do you think people have come closer together and feel more compassionate about helping others down their community?
The older generation and older population, I've seen them come together, but it's more of the younger generation don't really want to. But I've seen some of them do it. Like some younger people want to, but I think that the elder generation will do and come together more.
It'd be nice. It would be nice to see sort of when people come out the back of it, because I know a lot of friends, younger people my age, have been doing different sort of kind acts for their friends and making sure that they keep in contact sort of with a physical gift or something like that, rather than just being all online now. Because I think people have come to the end of sort of the tether a lot with lockdown. And as you were saying earlier, Talia, it's sort of changed now where people are sort of rebelling and going outside, which is hard to see. I mean, friendships have been maintained through inventive pub quiz rounds and video call, and we've reached family and friends who are quite hard to connect to. And it's really hard to communicate to some certain people. I mean, those in economic deprivation will struggle to connect to the outside world. Have you got any ideas or advice for those people, Ben, that may struggle or may not have the technology to connect?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult if you haven't got access to the technology that will allow you to do things like Zoom or Facebook, FaceTime, Facebook, anything like that. I mean, one of the things that I know people have been doing is writing letters to each other. I've got a cousin of mine who's started with his pen pal again, so that's great, and he's been able to connect that way. And then we've also got, when people go out, they've been talking to each other on the streets more, which is lovely. So still staying connected that way. So when you're walking past someone who's on the other side of the street, and a lot more people have been saying hello to each other. And then obviously being able to go around, and I know that you're not really supposed to visit homes, but a lot of people have been going around and sort of chatting through the windows, which if you keep that sort of a minimum, isn't too bad, I don't suppose. So as long as people are staying safe when they're going out and connecting, then hopefully it's still giving them that connection to the outside world, even though it's not quite the same as doing it through the online means.
Yeah, definitely. I think people are staying connected on the street when they're doing something just as simple as going out for the 8 o'clock clap. People are then standing on their sort of roads or from within their gardens and talking over the fence to other people, which is really nice. It's interesting to see how people have changed, but now moving on and looking at how businesses changed, we can see that businesses have been forced to advance quickly online and deliver the same resources to customers, and also universities have been forced online to deliver resources to students so they can carry on studying. And businesses small and large are forced online in huge team meetings, and sometimes they're trying to discuss projects or moving forward, whereas other businesses are actually thriving online and selling many products. For yourself, Ben, how do you think work will change for some businesses? Will some of the new methods and ways of working be used after coronavirus? Or do you reckon companies will fall back into their old ways?
No, I think that this is sort of forced an issue that's been around before, where we should be more active online. I know that we've had a number of times before where we've been asked to go to meetings at far off places like the other side of the country, London or Birmingham or wherever, and the time it takes for you to travel down to those locations and the cost as well, they've all been eradicated by having online meetings. It's much more efficient and effective way sometimes of doing these things, even though it comes without the sort of interpersonal relationship that you're able to forge by meeting face to face. So I think there'll be a lot of things like that will change. I know that at one of my family members' workplaces, they've been saying, well, we've been able to be as productive with people working at home. So why don't we save on building rent costs and utility costs, all that, and let people work from home more so that it becomes more financially effective for them. So I think that things will change like that. I mean, in terms of the way that we've been operating as a face-to-face delivery agency, where we go out and engage with young people or old people and do a lot of community development work, we've changed to have things like this podcast. We've done videos and on different things, so nature, theatre, art, sports, cooking, those sorts of things. And we've also done like online chat services and training online. So those sorts of things as well, I think, will become a more natural part of businesses as they go forward and come out of this. I think when coronavirus lockdown finishes, and even when social distancing finishes, I think that a lot of those things will be taken on board by organisations.
I can't help but agree with you on the fact that people will have to embrace these new ways of working, because they've been proved to be so efficient. And like you say, traveling to the other side of the country just for an hour meeting won't seem feasible. I think people will change their way of thinking and change their way of planning moving forward, especially in a business setting. And I know from an education side, a lot of people have found it very hard on that on the online forums such as Zoom to try and understand some really hard topics. So I think whereas business may move forward, I think I'd like to think universities will remain in sort of one-to-one meetings with sort of different peers and sort of research projects, but also the lectures remain sort of in lecture halls, and because you need to be there in person, I think, to really engage with a lot of learning, despite universities going all online recently. Well, we're coming to the end of the podcast now, so I'd just like to thank you all for joining me today. It's really appreciated you coming on and talking, so thank you.
It's okay.
That's all right.
Remember, guys, stay safe, stay at home.